The nation is under siege. The nation is under siege.
Oh, well. I wonder if they make a 4-year sedative. I think that would sell really well, don't you? Welcome, my friends, comrades, and whatever. This is Divided We Stand on YouTube. If you're unfamiliar with the channel, we ask that you become a subscriber. We do not monetize this channel, unlike many channels. We just simply want you to be a part of our team. Also, you can find us on Facebook. We have a popular group page called, appropriately enough, the Divided We Stand group page. And we ask that you become a member of that page too. We broadcast on both platforms, and I believe Blue Sky maybe? I don't know. But those are the two platforms. I know we should be on other ones, but we do what we can do. Very, very tough day. And it's only the first one. So let's talk with Dave, right? Fresh from Florida. Dave.
Well, hello there.
Give us some
Listen,
optimism.
Can I? Well, no, here we go. I saw today when I got back, long story. It was like a mini version of Gilligan's Island. It should have been, counting time in the airport, it should have been 4 hours. It was 17. We flew, instead of flying from Fort Lauderdale to Washington, D.C., our flight was canceled, so we flew from Fort Lauderdale to scenic Nashville, from scenic Nashville back to Orlando, went back to Florida, and then flew up here in D.C. And part of the reason, it was politics. There were some weather issues, but that wasn't it. it was impossible to get a flight to D.C. So I guess there's something going on here. Was there something? And today I saw a lot of people walking around here in Crystal City with red hats on. So I went out and got a red hat. But I don't think it's quite as red as theirs were.
No, it's not.
Now let's get.
That's not a deep red.
No. So here's what we got. Okay. When I woke up this morning, it actually hit me. Donald Trump, in a couple hours, is going to be president of the United States. Hey, Joey, I don't know that I wasn't in denial. I mean, all that. Reality was I believed he was going to win. I wanted Kamala. I think she would have made a great president. It didn't happen. All right. I do not think the election was fixed. So therefore, unlike Mr. Trump and his band of ne'er-do-wells, maybe more disturbing is the fact that the majority, not a landslide or not a mandate like he says, I think it's like down to like 49 something to 48 something. Hey, Bella. So it's not the mandate. Of course, you can't believe anything Trump says.
Right.
However, as you said, Brian, and understandably so, people are feeling deflated. They're feeling hopeless. They're feeling a lot of people,
and
honestly.
That feeling too.
Oh, I'm not. Oh, no. I'm not in any way denigrating them. No. But the problem becomes the fight goes on. And if you look at the heroes of the left, they've basically said that. Whether it's today is Dr. King's, day. There's kind of an irony on that. On Dr. King's day, Donald Trump, who is the anti-Martin Luther King, takes office. But life has a funny way of balancing itself out. Not toward. Okay, let's do it this way. One of the most famous beginnings in all of literature is Charles Dickens, from A Tale of Two Cities, and it begins, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times." Well, sometimes something is the best of times and worst of times. That's a very accurate assessment of life, personal, social, political. But sometimes it's just simply the best of times, and sometimes it's just simply the worst of times. And right now, I think the fear, and with much legitimacy, is that this is going to be 4 years of the worst of times. It's not going to be. It's going to be bad and badder in this, but there are some. Without searching too hard, let's look that MAGA, the Republican Party, et cetera, is not. They're almost, in some ways, they're almost as divided as the Democrats would be in certain ways. Hey, Lisa.
We haven't seen Lisa for a while. Good to see her.
No, good to see you. So what happens, Brian?
I was talking to Kevin Miller today. I think Kevin was actually asking, who was that person from Canada? I think it's Lisa.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, people come and go.
And she helped us, by the way, when you were out, Dave. She came on the show
once
or twice.
Very good. Thank you, Lisa. And I guarantee that show that you did was better than any show that I've done. Because Brian brings out the worst in me, but that's the way it is. All right, so back to what we're talking about. Why do I see them not functioning in lockstep? Very simply, it's already been done. They have a huge rift between the new billionaire Trump butt kissers and the old guard. The old guard, represented best by Steve Bannon and Laura Loomer. The new butt kisser, of course, the butt kisser extraordinaire, Elon Musk. But the difference is he'll kiss the butt for a minute, but he'll suck the lifeblood out of you, right? And there's not, so that's one thing. You've got the rich guys, and they are an oligarchy, and yes, outgoing President Joe Biden gave his Dwight Eisenhower. I talk real well. Dwight Eisenhower military-industrial complex speech. For those who aren't familiar with that, when Mr. Eisenhower left office, he said, "Beware of the military-industrial complex. It could bring the country down." This time, Mr. Biden said, beware of the oligarchy, the rich. We're headed in that
A little
direction.
bit late, right?
Well, look, Joe Biden was and is who Joe Biden is and was. Okay. Now, I would talk to him and I'd say, first of all, Mr. Biden, thank you for all you did for the country. But let's not make a god out of him either. And you're not. I'm saying, you're not. Some people are. Look, he was wrong on so many things. He was wrong on gun control initially. He changed. He was wrong. Do you realize that he is the person most responsible, probably, for Clarence Thomas being on the court? He dismissed Anita Hill, right, and led the fight to let's just get him on, right? As president, there is no question that the Joe Biden who finished his term was the same Joe Biden who began it. He does have, whether it's cognitive problems or just aging, and of course it was somewhat difficult because of his stutter to know. But Biden did some great things, and Biden did some really very not so great things, as most presidents come to. But let's turn it over to you, because there are a couple of issues that just come up, we have to talk about. So let's talk about the pardons for a minute. Joe Biden had really a series of pardons, right? And pardons are always controversial.
But these were preemptive pardons here.
Well, the first,
think they were even necessary. They didn't commit a crime.
Well,
we know why.
The first were not preemptive, so they were really in two categories. You're right. And they were large numbers. Not every president just about every president has pardoned someone or someone's, right? But Biden did it in three groups. One was his son. The only thing, again, and politicians do this time and time again, his failure was not that he pardoned his son. His failure was saying he wouldn't do it and then doing it. He should have just kept his mouth shut and done it. We don't know why. The second group was criminals who, again, some of the family members who the crimes against were upset, but that's usually done. And then this last is something that's never been done in large numbers. General Miley, Anthony Fauci.
You think that Trump was really wanted to go after Miley because he wants the military, and that's one.
Well, that's an interesting point, Brian. I think if you take Fauci and Miley, right, they're the two things. He doesn't really give a flying Fidooby about Fauci. That's the right wing, part. He does it, but personally, Miley would have been in more danger, I guess I'm saying. Yes. And there was some debate about, should Biden do it? There was also some debate about would the people accept the pardon? Because by accepting a pardon, in a way, you're saying, or people always view that as maybe they were guilty.
Right.
That's
because this whole thing, Dave, about, they'd be admitting guilt to something they haven't done, so maybe they are guilty. And Biden made promises, then he reneged them. No, at this point, there's just too much thinking going on, Dave. And I think you would agree with me that it was time for the Democrat Party. You've got to get nasty.
It doesn't, Brian. Unfortunately, with Joe Biden at the head of that, and I had this discussion at length today with my son, he was 100% in agreement, maybe even more strongly than you are, of doing that. And I said, wrong leader, wrong time. I've said it before at the show. But it makes a good point because we use pop culture. You and I are both devotees of studying pop culture to understand history and politics and the world around you, right? Because pop culture reflects things. So, Godfather 1 and 2, not 3, very influential in culture. And remember the time when Al Pacino, the Michael Corleone character, the son, dismisses the actually his quasi-adopted brother, the attorney played by Robert Duvall, and Duvall says, "Well, what did I do wrong?" Corleone said, "Nothing. You are phenomenal." I'm rephrasing here. You're a phenomenal consigliere, which is the legal advisor to the Don in the mafia hierarchy. He said, "But you're not a wartime consigliere, and I need that." Biden was not a not a domestic wartime president. It wasn't him. He couldn't do it. You can't ask for people to do more than they did. So the more I've talked, and I've spent since the election, a lot more time talking, because I've come up with a new wrinkle I'm not going to avoid them. I'm not going to confront them. I'm going to come at them from a different angle. But it's, like I said, it wouldn't. I'm more concerned in certain ways than ever, because the stereotypical Trumper is, Southerner, not bright, maybe not all their teeth, and that's there are people who follow them. But now with Bezos's money and Musk's money and Zuckerberg's money and Tim Cook's money, and we can go on and on and on, it has now suddenly, now it's going to be interesting, because now you've got really the poor, but now the voices are the ultra uber rich, which is the way the Republican Party used to be, right? So you've got this new MAGA thing on top of this money, but I don't see them getting along, and Trump will have to make a couple hard decisions. Do I stay? Okay, old country saying, always stay with who brung you, meaning to dance. Well, Trump is now moving to the prettier girl, and the prettier girl being defined as the people with more money. So how do the girls that brung him to the dance feel about that? And we're going to find out pretty soon. Bannon
he pardoned 1,500 people today. Trump.
Yep. And you know what? There are people in America tonight that feel horrific about what Biden did and good about what Donald Trump did. And that's wrong. Okay. Certainly to ask Dave, he thinks Trump's question to our prime minister for being the 51st state was a ploy, or was he just getting Canadians peeved off? Because to me, it will never happen in this country. Okay, Lisa, to answer you, the last part of yours is 100% right. It will never happen. Actually, it was interesting on I was just on a music cruise working, because I write about it and blog about it and have another book coming about it. And there were a few Canadians on there, and we were talking and we were kind of laughing. I can't get inside, nor can anyone get inside Trump's mind, but following him as long as I have, and I know him from the Atlantic City casino days when I was working at the Atlantic City Press, so it goes back a long way. There's an old saying from like Shakespeare's time: let the firstlings of your mind be the lastlings of your mouth. Think before you speak, right? Trump doesn't do that. So you never know what's going on in that head of his. I really don't think. I think he was being petulant. He was saying, look, I'm going to put some tariffs on you, and if you mess with it, I'm going to come after you that way. No, it wasn't. But again, you said it, Brian, and I've argued with you. And tonight on this show, I want to apologize to you personally, because you were right and I was wrong. You kept saying he's Teflon, nothing state. No. And he is, okay? He is. Because just take that one thing that Lisa brought up. He runs this trial asshole balloon up, right? There's all this room, and suddenly Trudeau resigns. Now, it had nothing necessarily to do. It's not a one-on-one. It's not a cause and effect. But doesn't it seem like that? That increases Trump's power. See what he can do? See what he can do? The two were not necessarily related. There was some correlation. So why did he do it? I think on the level was he just struck back like a bullet.
I think he's trying to infuriate, and that's.
But the other thing is, think about what he's done. He's now got a lot of Americans thinking about, maybe we should expand.
Yeah, we'll just do the Putin thing, and we'll just start absorbing.
Exactly. Now
we love hegemony. That's what we want.
Well, today, interesting enough, works out this way in D.C. Just because people come from all over. So today we're pulling in our underground garage here, and a truck. I was kind of bitching about the way. Well, come to find out, it was a new resident. He is from England. He is a lawyer, and he does corruption work for both the IMC, the International Money Change, and also for the World Bank. And I said, well, I can tell you where there's corruption. He kind of looked. I said, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And he smiled. The idea would be, so we got to talking about how England feels about this. And he said, there's some concern over there because they view Trump as completely erratic. And they don't know what he's going to do. But they realize they have a very big impact, because if he pulls out of NATO, that's a big deal. And he will. I think he will. Who's going to talk him out of it? He's got this, and who's going to talk now? Annexing Greenland, that's a little tougher. Canada becoming the 51st state ain't going to happen unless we all die and come back to something.
Chance of California deciding to secede and go and become part of Canada, which would be a smart idea for them.
Well, actually, there's been talk all along, and this predates this idiocy from Trump. I've heard that there were people who would favor California, Oregon, Washington, and adding Vancouver, like taking just up that coast, right, and making some kind of nation. And Brian, correct me if somebody out there knows this better than I do. I believe California has the 5th largest.
Something like 5th or 6th, yes.
5th in the world, not right. So could it be? Sure, you'd start out.
And not only that, for every dollar that we pay in taxes, the Californians get around 60 cents back, whereas these asshole states like, by the way, Ryan can't make tonight. He's a little bit under the weather.
Okay.
But asshole states like, Texas, Kentucky, West Virginia,
right,
they're getting $1.60 back for every dollar they put in. So it's already bullshit.
Now, the other thing related to all of this, today is a new day, okay? It is a new day. America is different today. Well, what time did he? Well, actually, I assume I did not know this until a few years ago. Do you realize Trump was sworn in twice today? Did you know that?
I don't know, but I did see. I mean, I didn't watch any of it. I refuse.
No. But you wouldn't see the first swearing in. It's done privately,
right?
In case something happens, right? So there's not a moment when like really technically, last night Biden was done as president when the clock struck midnight. He was done as president like 4 minutes before we arrived back here in D.C.
That's a good question. It's a sick thing that Musk did.
Well, you know what? And there's something now. Again, I'm not smart enough or anything to have any idea what to do in the Middle East. But having said that, that brought it up to me thinking Israel was very quiet, in this election. Like now, there again, who brokered the peace? Was it, as Trump said, he was involved? There's probably a good chance of that. But it actually was done under Biden, so Biden should get the majority of the credit. But already there's a precedent set twice, set by Republicans, set by Richard Nixon, who sent envoys to North Vietnam and said, do not settle peace until I get there. I will give you a better deal. Documented, not speculation, hard, cold fact. Reagan did the same thing with Carter, sent a delegation, said, do not release, those at the embassy. I'll give you a better deal. So it would not surprise me if Trump did that, which then would mean that there'd be some beholding between him and Israel, okay? I would think Trump would be more in favor of Israel.
Right, but I don't even know that Israel can really trust Trump.
They can't. No one, Brian, no one can. We're talking like I said, on the ship, it was funny because we all agreed there were 2,500. Not all of us got together and voted, but those I was talking to, which included musicians, very famous, some of them not so famous, fans that were there, management, all kinds of people. And when we would have these, we said, no heavy politics, but let's talk. And, I brought up the fact, and the majority agreed with me. I said, there are a lot of people who are transactional. And transactional means, what can I get out of this? And before I give you anything, right? But I've never met anyone, what I call 2-second transactional, and that's Donald Trump. You give Donald Trump $1 billion, he loves you, right? But 2 minutes later, if you say something about his tie, you could be back on his shit list that quickly. And that, kind of imbalance. So, and countries aren't stupid. Or not everybody. So I don't think there's any country in the world whose leaders trust Donald Trump. I think, again, they're in categories. I think Putin sits back and smiles because Putin sees Trump.
He had the
as
most to gain out of any leader was Putin.
And he you're right. I think China sits back and smiles because they want to disrupt America. certainly Iran.
It'll be a very unproductive America in terms of the economy. I'm sure your
Oh,
son has mentioned that. But
Oh yeah, absolutely.
this is what's going to happen.
But
And
here's where I hate to use the word interesting because people are going to suffer and probably die. Well, there will die. There will be people that will die by edicts that Trump does. No matter what he does, there's going to be things. If he does even 10% of his agenda, but a lot of those people who will suffer the most is his own supporters, right? You mentioned California.
And shouldn't they, Dave?
Well, I have no problem with that. You know, in other words, okay. Two or three kinds of people back Trump. Let's look at who I believe they do. First of all, for the most part, the rich have backed Republicans. There's no difference, okay? For the most part, especially the rich, the old moneyed rich. Now, this time we saw a new movement where the techno rich moved to him, right? And they're more devious than the old moneyed rich. The rich that didn't are what I call the entertainment rich, you know, the actors and people, and they're still pretty much leftist, except, and I'll come back to that at some point, except for the 3 asshole ambassadors we have now. But for the most part, it was the common, much closer. Okay, I would love, and I could do this. Maybe I will do it. I'd like to know where I fit in. I know I'm not in the 1%, and I know I'm not in the 20% that are poverty ridden. So I'm somewhere in there. I don't know if I'm close to the 1% up there. I think probably, unfortunately, I am, and I certainly don't have tons of money. But so the poor people were the ones in mass that probably put Donald Trump into office. One group, the poor people, right?
Right.
The rich, another group, breaking up the rich. A third group, huge in this, were the evangelicals or the Christians. I was my wife's roommate called Judy today. Are you watching it? Are you watching it? She said no. I said, Dave's not watching it? No, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to do what people said. You know, turn your TV to HGTV and all that. It's a foregone conclusion. So let me ask you, Brian, did you watch it today?
Zero. I refuse to watch it.
Gotcha. So that's one thing. But you know what happened because you followed up on it. And I would suggest.
The only thing I listened to Steve Schmidt and posted something.
Right. Well, what I would suggest.
Comment about God.
And there you are.
Wants Trump to save America.
Now, now the question becomes, and there's nobody. I don't even know if Donald Trump can answer it. Does Donald Trump say that, or does Donald Trump say that and believe that? And I was arguing with Michael today with my son because he started saying, well, I said, Michael, you don't know intent. You know action. You never know intent. A lot of times people don't even know their own intent, right? Mm-hmm. But one way or the other, it's still pretty horrific because I can't think of anyone God would smile less on than Donald Trump if there were God. And to me, it's almost, not proof that there isn't one, but it kind of gets close to that. So the evangelicals. And so I spent some time, and I've mentioned on the show before, I went to a huge, the Let's Get Trump in the White House, which was September, I guess. Anyway, it's still warm out here. And of all the things that I went out and did politically in the 4 years since Joe Biden came in, that was the scariest to me, because there's nothing worse than someone who a true believer who believes God is on my side. Ergo, anyone, it's real quick dehumanization. Anyone who's not on my side because God is on my side is with the devil. And Christians, rightfully so, I suppose, should fight the devil. But the problem is, what if there is no God? What if Jesus Christ is a composite, which I kind of believe he is, a composite of some prophets and things that were hanging around? So these people, so that's another group. Now, the one group that could break would be the poor people if they see, and if we can, I think it's one of the things we have to do, as those of us who speak we have to continue to point out that Trump is bought and sold by the oligarchy. Now, I heard somebody say something really interesting today. They said that you should not refer to anything Trump does as Donald Trump did this. Keep saying like you could say, the Trump Republican administration spread the blame, you know what I mean, to do that. And that makes some sense. My wife, who's not really political, she just makes a decision, and then, you know, she doesn't agonize over or think about anything other than that. And she has refused, since he took office, to call him, to say his name. She just calls him 45. So I asked her today, what do you say? She said, I guess I got to say 47, but she said, I'm not going to say, you know, of course, to me, she said the word, the T word, right? Now, we already know that his supporters, whatever that group they're in, you know, and there's also Republicans who just want their own power. So you've got that we know that they almost, it's almost kind of a shame that, what was it, 200 historians, I believe, were in the group, judged the presidents, and by overwhelming numbers, Trump was judged to be the worst of the 45 presidents. Biden had not served yet, and of course, Trump had not been reelected. Well, these are the experts. And, you know, sometimes, well, you know,
Doesn't take much, Dave, to realize. We thought Bush was probably one of the worst, but
no, but I know it doesn't. But, you know,
it's
I'm
pretty
saying
easy in this.
it's like disavowing Fauci, you know, because you don't believe, because you saw something on the internet that said Fauci once stubbed his toe and his brain fell out or whatever, right? So when historians do that, you should listen. And they judge it. It doesn't matter. And how does it help Trump? Because it's those people who did that. See, Trump has skills. He does. I didn't think so, but he does. What?
Cunning skills.
Evil skills, yes. Negative skills. But he has, first of all, he is a showman. He's P.T. Barnum. And I'm sorry, if P.T. Barnum is your idol, sucker born every minute, and I'll take advantage of it, Donald Trump is better. He conned his way to the White House, conned his way to the #1 position in the world. Think about that, everybody. Me too. Okay. How did he do that? Because we live in a world now where con is king. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind, and usually there's always doubt in my mind when I say something. Donald Trump would not be president had it not been for the reality show, The Apprentice. And had not we gotten consumed as Americans with reality TV, which is the most unreal thing on television. It's a name. They're not reality shows. They are scripted. You know, they're more scripted than shows sometimes, or set up to be. So if they were not reality TV, there wouldn't have been the Apprentice.
That we have to add the debate that he had with all the Republicans in the beginning. In fact, I don't even know why they let 11 or 15 people on that panel.
Well, but again, I would not disagree with you, but all this other stuff predated even that, and then we'll get to that. So there would not have been president if there had not been TV, all right, which is a mass media that is like the internet. Then we get him on one of those shows, and then that propels his name out there, and people believe, he must be. Look at how many times he's got his name on there. He must be the greatest businessman in the world. He was the worst. Okay, and now, you can't say that. He was not a good businessman there. He was the opposite. All right, and what happens then is, as you said, Brian, then a number of other factors come in. Then he would not have won had there not been an internet. Okay, again, mass media now spread everywhere. He would not have won if the Democrats had an extremely popular, some kind of candidate that could put in there. Biden was ancient. Somehow Trump has convinced people that he's not ancient. I think there may be some Adderall, not addicting. Well, Adderall's addicting.
Well, we're looking at all the things. If this didn't happen and that didn't happen, but
it did. Yeah, I know.
It's not. I mean, look. You and I both know that, but there is this element of something the Republicans were poor at when Bob Dole was running for president against Clinton. But Trump knew how to guerrilla market. He knew social media, and we took that part for granted. We thought, we'll just do the regular commercials on the main networks.
Absolutely, Brian.
And there's the determinism there. There's this thing like, well, if this didn't happen, there was so much there.
Yes.
Plus, you have the evangelicals who wanted to have, the Joel Osteens of the world, the contract with America in 1993. We're not going to negotiate with Democrats whatsoever. We're going to all be behind this. So This thing was
No,
so big.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And we haven't even begun to touch on it. Had Mitch McConnell not controlled the Senate. Now, Mitch McConnell is a wild card in all of this now. He is established. He still has a lot of power. But he's not going to run again. And it has been said, and I believe it to be true, that he despises Donald Trump and everything Donald Trump stands for. You say, why did it help him? Because it helped Mitch McConnell, and he thought it helped.
Giving him too much credit even for that.
Who?
Mitch McConnell.
Oh no, Brian. No.
I'm just saying.
Absolutely no.
There's some kind of decent part of him by the fact that he.
No, I'm making no decent part of him.
I'm not. I'm just saying people have that mentality. Not you. Not you.
No, I know.
So
But, I wasn't taking it personally. What I'm saying is, he has the power in politics that Trump wished he had. Okay? McConnell created a Supreme Court in his image. Isn't that kind of what God did with humans? I'm not making him a God. I'm just saying.
Right.
I'm going to say again, without Mitch McConnell, we do not have a 6-3 court.
Right.
We do not. He single-handedly shot down. Now, we may be grateful. Maybe he did America a favor that we didn't get Merrick Garland as a Supreme Court judge. Right. Because I will say tonight, unless Mr. Garland would like to come on this show, and he's always welcome. And it won't be
I don't know
question.
About that. I kind of,
No, I would welcome. I want to
like
hear. I want him to hear him defend his inactions. That's what I want to hear him to do. I'm not saying I'll agree with it. I'm not, but I want to hear it. To me, he is one of the, maybe he is the single biggest reason that Donald Trump was able to run for president. So here's a Democratic
his ass should be in jail right now.
From Joe Biden, everybody who saw January 6th saw it in one of two ways. It was either patriots storming to get America back, or it was a complete insurrection with hoodlums, hooligans, and murderers. They're the only two options.
Well, 5 people were killed. And Brian Sitniks, who was a Republican, now his whole family is pissed off at Trump.
I understand.
Too late.
That. There you are. And the reason is, I've read the redacted reports of Jack Smith. And again, it doesn't mean it's true, but Smith felt the evidence would clearly lead to a conviction of Donald Trump. Well, that act was January 4 years ago, and we're now finding out 2 days before the election.
2 days before the election, right.
Sorry, Merrick, you cost America. I said, and I somewhat maintain this, but not a lot. Sometimes there'll be a vote like there was last time. I think Amy Barrett is the weak link in that chain. And I think John Roberts, there's certain things he may not want to be associated with, but we can't count on that. Normally, when you go into the case, you got a 6-3. You got to move 2 of those conservatives or you're done. That's it. So, Merrick Garland, thank you for that court. Of course not. Joe Biden, somebody should have said, and from what I understand, I've never met her. Joe Biden is looked at pretty much as a good person. However, we don't know Joe Biden. We know that Melania Trump doesn't advise Donald. She doesn't sleep with him. She doesn't do anything with him. That's not true with Jill. So I would think Jill, and I actually talked to someone here who's very close to that situation, and they said, I thought it was Joe. I don't want to give this up. They said, no, it was Jill who didn't want him to give it up. And she's the one that believed, and you believe in your husband if you have, and they have love, that he can do the job, but he couldn't. He couldn't close the deal, and we saw that, and that was not just a bad night in that debate. There had to be other days and nights when he was that, feeble? What word do you look at? That overmatched. Trump didn't have to kill him.
Trump didn't answer a goddamn question that night, and just the fact that Biden just went into dementia zone, that ruined it. Well, first question, he was done.
Take everything off of that. You have to make a decision. Do I want somebody with dementia, or I want somebody without dementia in the White House?
I told you I would vote for a squirrel before I'd vote for Trump, and I mean that.
I understand that, but you might be the rule, or you might be the exception. I'm going to find that you're not the sole exception, but I'm saying there's not enough of you or me, if I agree with that,
Right.
to do that.
I don't have any kind of power aside from what we're doing here, though that is important. But
Right.
We're
But I think,
powerless right now.
well, that's the one thing I want to talk to.
But I don't want to be that way. You still have to fight the fight.
Well, and you will, Brian.
Yeah.
You're hard. I think you're harder on yourself, as everybody is right now. It is. It's. Oh, this is a terrible analogy, but just sprung to my mind. If you're a kid and you believe in Santa Claus, and then one day you don't, and it happens for many of us, myself included, for that moment, your world is turned upside down. And that's just this fantasy thing as a kid. This was real. When people realized Donald Trump had beaten Kamala Harris, and you thought Trump was, you had an accurate assessment of who he is and what he'll do, you were crushed. You had to be. All right. Yeah. No, I'm sorry, Antigaya. I love to agree with all of it. That is a put-on story. That is not true. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't have a cold. That is not it. It was much deeper than that. That was not, and if that were the case, then I blame every one of his people for not stopping him from going on.
Put him on.
So either way, it was a mistake. One's horrific, the other's bad. Okay, that's the difference.
It was such a poor performance, and it was right in the beginning. It was just from the start.
Well,
and you'd say
because either, let's say, he was under the influence of something, taken for a cold.
But he's like that anyway, cold or not. He has these momentary lapses, which I would take instead of Trump. But I'm saying where Trump has it raised, there's this image, and like I say, Trump didn't answer. He really didn't answer any question. He avoided everything.
Brian, what word did you say in the middle of that? Did you catch yourself? What word you said about in the middle of that statement? It begins with I. I am a, I-M-A-G, I-M-A-G-E. You said image.
Right.
That is what wins in America. Policy doesn't win in America. Money doesn't.
Answer the question, Sylvain. He did, but that first one, he just got blown away, and he made no sense, and that's when Trump called it. But I don't know what he's saying.
It doesn't, and what Sylvain just put up there,
because that's what he's saying. What the hell is he saying?
Well, Sylvain Biden actually answered if you go back and visit, but image is established immediately. And it is very difficult to change the image.
Well, hold on,
once
we got
it's
something
there.
here. Sylvain says, okay, now when I say stupid shit, I'm going. We're not saying stupid shit. What's
listen, Sylvain, listen. I hope you have a great life. If you never come back, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have your opinion. We have ours. If we say something you don't like, shut us down. I'm fine with that. So anyway, nice for that short span to know you. What I'm going to say is true. Donald Trump's image was much stronger, although false and built on lies, than Joe Biden's. There's 2 years difference in their ages. So if it was an age thing, Biden came across as weak and feeble and whatever, and Trump has this image of being strong. Now, the irony of it is Trump is the biggest crybaby in politics. He is literally, maybe he's age 6, he's no older. I mean, in terms of how I want that, but that's not the image he's given. It's just like I said before, because he has his names on buildings, he must be a good businessman. Because he has a hot wife, he must be a sexual power. Because. Now, you can look at some other things too, which I think is interesting. If he's such a good president, why has his daughter, Ivanka, divorced herself when she was actually, something without some. Anyway, she was one of the main voices last time. She realizes that down the road, her dad's a con man. Now, I'm not giving her credit, but she wants to disassociate herself, right? Trump doesn't really hold grudges in that sense. So what does he do? Donnie Jr. breaks up with Guilfoyle, and so to kind of pay the hush money, which Trump does all the time, he makes Guilfoyle what, ambassador to England.
Right.
Now, in that case, it's like kind of buying your loyalty. She can't trash my son. And Trump may actually, we say he doesn't, he may actually, in his own pathetic, self-serving way, thinks he loves his children. I think Barron's the first one to really understand. Well, no, the younger daughter too. But Melania is not the classiest first lady ever. Melania,
she just dresses well, but that doesn't mean the person under the clothes is sophisticated.
And what is that again, Brian? Image.
Right.
Image.
She wants to look like Audrey Hepburn, and she's not Audrey Hepburn.
And Anti-Guy, I don't disagree with you, but somehow, and I know how, Trump has turned every time we say he's a criminal, which is true. His supporters say, "See, Mr. Trump was right, or President Trump was right." They are out to get him because they don't see him as that. Now, how when you have 34 charges that you're convicted of, that wasn't political. That was a jury of supposedly his peers. That's the American legal system. So if you can honestly say that Trump was railroaded politically, then you have no faith in the American judicial system at all. None. You can't. They're antithetical to one another. So
after Kyle Rittenhouse, I don't have any faith in
I understand that. But my point is, don't hide behind it. I would challenge any police officer in the country to talk to me. I would listen to him. I wouldn't argue with him. How, when it led directly to 80 injuries of the men who are in your position, plus some deaths, plus suicides, plus retaliatory things how do you support Trump? Well, they do. And there are many, there are many reasons for that. One of the fears from people who know is that I don't want to use the word infested. I don't want to use the word infected. That there are many, if not actually, Proud Boy types in the military and law enforcement. And I believe that's probably true. I don't have any problems believing that, because there's kind of a personality that lends itself. I've said before, a policeman is a tough job, but the first thing is you have to be willing to handle a gun. I'm not willing to handle a gun, so you don't have to worry about me being a policeman. And I'm sure, Brian, you know people that grew up with and became police officers. Mm-hmm. We all do. And if you go back and look at them, a couple of them want to do good. Most of them, I know most of the people I know.
It's the old, image. The idea that, those people became cops were bad kids because their parents were cops and they egged their friends' houses and shit like that. A lot of times that was true. And of course it's propaganda, but there's a certain ounce of truth in that.
Now, like I said, like you, I didn't duck. I just wasn't interested until he became president. So I wasn't interested in the pomp and the pageantry and all that. We've just dropped down to 6 watching. Anthony, explain that, please. It's me, not you. I'm sure you know what you mean, and it's me that didn't quite get it.
I guess the people watching, there's just numbers of people watching.
Oh, okay.
We were up to like 15, and now we're down. I guess actually there's 10 now. It goes up and down minute to minute. It's just you can't tell.
You know what? Well, you know what we should do? Is there a way to change that? And like instead of 10, it's 10 million.
Right.
No. Not that I want it.
And by the way, everybody.
But you know
as
what?
Much as we would like to have a lot of people watching, Dave and I do not give a shit about that. In the end,
we give a shit about the people. Right. We give a shit about the people watching and ourselves. Honestly, it's funny. A couple of people ask me, why do you do the show with those numbers? I mean, I just said, do you have? I said, no. We have a good following on Facebook, but I said that the show is a commitment. Not everybody wants to spend their time. Wants to spend their time listening to 2 non-professionals, and we admit to being non-professionals. Certainly, we don't have the following of a Rachel Maddow on the one side or a Tucker Carlson on the other, which allows us some freedom.
Our viewers, we're average,
Yeah, we're just
normal people.
Yeah, that's it. And nothing more and nothing less. But so one thing I have to say is, if you're feeling hopeless, there's a great song written by Pop Staples of the Staples Family Singer. So yes, they were based in gospel, but they also did this rock age. And done, I would urge everyone with Spotify or whatever you listen to, Apple Music, to listen to it. It's called "Hope in a Hopeless World" by Widespread Panic. That's what we have to have right now. Hope in a hopeless world. And there's nothing more difficult. Because listen to what you're saying there, Brian. You're saying have hope, but it's a hopeless world. So you're almost defeated before you start.
Well, I don't like to use the word hope because I don't like that word.
I understand
I'm just
that.
saying, you have to, again, it comes down to one expression. It's you have to fight the good fight. I mean,
In the end,
it's hope. We're all gone. I mean, none of us are going to get out of here alive. We
Right.
know that.
Well, you know what's interesting about that, and I've been thinking about that a while. And of course, I defer to you because you're a much stauncher environmentalist than I am. And what I've done with the environment, it's so far beyond. I mean, I can do my little bit that I'll try to find something else. But really, overall, it's the thing that would take us off the planet tomorrow. The only more dangerous thing is nuclear. That's it. Or pandemic, not stoppable. But it's in the top 3, and sometimes there. But I started thinking about that. When we talk about the environment, do you realize, right, that the Earth will survive us no matter what we do to it? Who won't survive are us. So it's kind of, in a way, like, wow, the Earth will make it through. Now, America is not the Earth, so America won't make it through unless we can fight for it and keep it. Or something we don't even know happens. We joke. What would happen tomorrow? Everybody out there listening, suspend all your belief for a moment. What would happen tomorrow if aliens landed on this planet? And you can say, I don't believe in it. Fine, suspend your belief. I'm not saying you have to believe in it. Would Donald Trump negotiate with them and join them, in their conquest? We don't know. There used to be a time. I was reading a really good book. I like it. It's about, and you, Brian, would not, and that's fine because you don't feel the same way. It's about how superheroes reflect America at the time they were introduced. So Batman and Superman, what was going on then, and all this, and but we don't have superheroes to do this. Superman is going to fight the battle for us. Captain America only appears in Marvel comics and movies. So it's got to be the little people like the Anne Franks, who who we each have to do our part. And so, we're not going to argue about hope, but I'm saying you need to find a couple songs that kind of, whatever they are, that's one way to do it. You have to find out what you can do. And what I mean by that is I can protest every day of the week. Why? I live in Washington, D.C., and I'm retired. The only thing, I couldn't protest this week because I was away. Elon believes in, do that again? I missed that one. I'm always interested. Elon's my fascination. He believes in a lot of things, and he believes in nothing. I'm a firm believer in, until you can discredit them, I think families know people better than anyone else. Would you agree with that, Brian? Because they spend more time with them. Now, you may have an argument and hate your father and say he attacked you, or whatever. But if you're being honest, and Elon's adult children do not speak highly of him. Just like Peter, I'm going to be the defense secretary and I'm going to drink my lunch. Mother said, that was pretty damning criticism. Now, she's backed off.
Now she's backed off.
She said it and he is it.
Right.
Okay. But a mother could, I'm sure she wants her son to be successful and now suddenly has a chance to really be. So, of course, she's going to say that. My point is, Elon Musk, from everything I've read, and I haven't really haven't talked to anyone who knows him at all. But from everything I've read, he has not invented anything. He apparently does have some tendencies that he picked up in South Africa, most of which are there's good races and bad races. I threw a frisbee over the fence in front of the White House lawn. They would probably shoot it down thinking it was a drone. they would shoot it down the moment it left your hands, and they might shoot you, Anthony. So you're right. Living here, one of the saddest sights, and I posted it, is how far away we are now physically from the Capitol. Isn't that where our laws are made? And shouldn't we be able to actually go in there? From the Supreme Court, that's where it's all decided. But mostly from the People's House, the White House. Now, something I'll be interested in, and it will tell a lot about this administration, will be when the barricades will be up, of course, until today. Now, today's over. Will those barricades come down at the White House? That's going to be very interesting. I'm not sure they will. For the very reason, and as Trump said, and there's another unsettling thing for people, Brian, too. I am as far removed from conspiracy theorists, I would hope, as anyone ever was. I just think sometimes things can't be explained and let it go and whatever. But I'm still not sure about those two. One appeared to be an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. That's the one, where he claims he got shot in the ear.
Right.
I'm still not sure what that was.
Right.
I don't know what that was. I'm not saying it was anything. I'm just not sure. And the one with the guy with the gun. Have you heard anything about that since?
Zero.
Right. And what happens is people often interpret silence one of two ways. Oh, they're not talking about it, so it must be true. But there's also, they're not talking about it, it must not be true. So I would say to people, not that anyone should follow me for this. As I said, I had, my dad would have said, being the Texan he was, I had my come to Jesus moment today. It is real. Donald Trump is our president. And I've got to figure out a way on two levels. One is for me to deal with that personally. How am I going to do that, right? And secondly, how can I make his job as difficult as it is when he's wrong, right? Now, he might be right. I guess the law of averages says he's got to be right sometime. I haven't seen it yet, Brian. I haven't seen it. So if you're going to ask me, I agree with those columnists saying right now, unchecked, if we put our heads in the sand, if we lick our wounds, whatever we do, and we don't get out there and do whatever it is we need to do, our worst fears are going to be mild compared to what Trump will actually do.
Right.
So we got to fight, kids.
Gotta fight. And who knows what will happen to us, Dave? Because as we've discussed this, in Russia, for far less, they go after people and gulag them. So,
and you and I could debate, and I always have to defer to you because of your expertise on Russian. You are, whether you consider yourself or not, just the time. No, you are, Brian. Compared to me, okay.
Understanding of the country.
I'm just saying, compared to me, I don't speak the language. I haven't spent time. I've been to Russia 3 times. Hey, hi, I'm an American. Out. So, right. But my point is, the only thing, and it doesn't give me. I don't think that Donald Trump is Vladimir Putin. I think Putin is much stronger, and we do have this, even though we're giving it up right now, there is ingrained in every American some idea of democracy, which I do not think the Russians have. So it's not an apples to apples comparison, but it's one that should be examined because we certainly can turn there. It's not because we're Washington. Let's see. John is a typical Washingtonian. Everyone has a story.
They're talking about somebody, the John Flannery channel. They have a
okay, we'll have to look at it. I'm not familiar with that. No, I have to take a look at that. By the way, when you suggest channels, I think it should be revealed tonight. As I said, we each need to have whatever we need to go by. And what Brian does, he apparently has, he keeps it secret from Ronnie, but apparently he is quite a visitor of OnlyFans channels, where the women display their attributes and that kind of thing. So when you suggest something for Brian, understand he doesn't have a lot of time between teaching and being a good husband to his wife, which he is, and watching these porn channels. So just if he doesn't get around to it, he's doing other things that are very important to him. Hey, when are we going to do this again? Sunday?
Well, who knows with him at
that's what I said. I think, ladies and gentlemen, you kind of have to be aware because I have a feeling a feeling deep inside. That was a Beatles lyric, right? I have a feeling that we'll be doing a lot of midweek, not a lot, many midweek shows. Just can you believe, can you believe what he did today
Right.
shows.
We're in crisis
And, you know,
mode, and this
yeah.
is just the first day.
And there you are, right? That's the type of crisis mode. That you're right. I mean,
Right.
that's not understating it. It's certainly not overstating it.
And as
But it's
I had said, Dave, that whole determinism of this
Well-
led to Trump. Nothing can stop this crisis because it will occur when you have dumb people in power.
not. And how do you say this?
Unavoidable.
It can, no, let me say this. But piranha can stop themselves by eating themselves.
Well,
okay.
yes, that will.
And
happen.
so I don't know, but I would agree with you. We don't have the power, right? You know how they say the ball is in your court? Every ball in American government right now is in their court. They got the ball. Our job is to try to figure it back. But what if they all want to shoot the ball and only one of them can? That's good for us
Right.
because they'll cannibalize themselves. That's all.
Let's hope. But, all right, Dave. That's a wrap.
Oh,
So,
you have to go to work tomorrow. I don't.
I
I
certainly
never
do.
go to work. I
Exactly.
have the best
Claim
job
it.
in America.
All right,
All
Dave.
right.
Enjoy
Talk
your
to you, man.
retirement and get to
Thank
work.
thank everybody
Yeah.
for coming on the show, whether you're watching it live or not. And again, how do you say this? We're not begging for viewers because we want for us. But the nice thing about viewers is that if you notice tonight, anybody's watching, the messages are not necessarily to us; they're to each other, right? And that's really what it is. This allows people to not sit home and do nothing. It allows them, as almost every show open with commiserate, and it also gives ideas. Like a lot of times, I'll use just one example. Anthony, who I always read his stuff because I think he's a very interesting thinker, and a lot of things he's posted were different in some ways, but give me things to think about. And the system is to protect the American interests. Trump will not fall.
Yeah, but he has broken the system as we know it. I don't think it's the same system. That's the thing with the far left. Not you, Global. I'm not saying that you are the far left or anything like that. It's just that there's this mentality on the far left that everything's already determined, like not philosophical.
Oh, wait a minute. The determinist is saying that it's not already.
Right.
But
But I'm just saying that
No.
the idea is that, like, in other words, this was just a sham. This Kamala Harris, Biden against Trump, that they're all working on it together to do whatever I don't know.
No,
you know what?
no,
They
no,
could take
no.
anthrax with the military and put us out in 1 minute if they really wanted to. That's why,
There's-
by the way, that's why I don't believe, also just the logic of it, I don't believe in a God or a devil, because let's suppose there were a devil or whatever. They could, if they really want. I mean, look, there's a lot of shit in this universe. I mean, it's an uncaring, ambivalent universe, but it doesn't like put all of us like under 18,000 pounds of rock and make us suffer every second, every single one of it. So it's not like there's a ghost in the machine doing this thing. It's not. So I can't agree with the far left that somehow Biden and Trump are the same thing. They're not. They have similarities, but they're not the same thing. And I'm not saying
I would
Global saying that either. I'm just saying
no. Well,
the
and
system
I'm not saying
has
I'm not
changed
saying I'm not
rapidly.
saying that there aren't times, and I don't really have a problem with this. Somebody's going to be president of the United States. Okay, that office is not going to be vacant. So I'm going to look at the two people. I wish sometime there'd be a woman there. Right now, if you ask me who do you want to be president of the United States, I would say Pete Buttigieg. But I know that's a problem, getting a homosexual in office because of falsely thinking, much of it led by evangelicals.
Right.
But if somebody's going to be president, I'm always going to either pick the one that attracts me, right, which I like, or I'm going to say of the two of those, which one is worse for America, and I'm going to go with the other guy. So, like you, Brian, I mean, don't even think about it in party differences. Ask yourself, anybody should ask themselves this question. And I think it's a great question and we don't do it enough. If you had a daughter whom you loved more than life itself, right? Which is what a parent should be able to do. And she came home with a man of her age. One of them was Joe Biden. or it could be Donald Trump. Which one would you want her to marry? And I think that clearly, if you're in your right mind, not politics now, divorce, who is the better person? Joe Biden every day of the week. Is he a great person? I didn't say that. All he has to be is better as a person than Donald Trump, and Joe Biden is. Kamala Harris would be. Didn't win. We deal with Donald Trump now, and we do everything we can to support him if that is in the best interest of America, and everything we can to oppose him if it is not in the best interest of America. And I think the best interest of America has to be for the poor rather than the rich.
Right. Well spoken, Dave. All right, folks, that is a wrap for sure from Divided We Stand. Again, if you are...
You're sending everybody a wrap, like a
rap.
Chicken salad or what?
No, rap music. You have something against rap music?
No, I often hear music when I eat chicken salad wraps.
Well, the bottom line is this. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. Share it to your friends. Tell us about us, and maybe we'll get another subscriber by the end of the week. But we're not going to worry about that. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful week. And who knows? Let's hope it isn't that bad, but it doesn't.
We'll see.
All right. See you, folks.